you all for coming to the Macular Vision Research Foundation SupportSight. I think there's a lot of information that we've got to get out there for you. And so we're going to start today, as Susan talked in the beginning, about parts and pieces to the puzzle of life. And how many of you have felt that life is kind of like a puzzle? And you guys can answer. That's all right. You can shake your head if you want. Okay. All right. So one of the things that we're going to talk about, and one of the puzzles that we're going to try to put together today and to work on, is the emotional and social side of macular degeneration. And it's probably the two sides that we don't talk about the most, and yet it's the one that needs to be talked about the most. Because there's a lot of stuff that goes through your mind, and sometimes we don't say it as well as we should. And so we want to kind of cover that side. And what I want to do, to start out with this piece of the puzzle, how many of you remember that day that you were sitting in the chair and the doctor told you you had macular degeneration or a vision impairment? Do most of you remember that day? And normally what happens, when the doctor diagnoses you with something, you're expecting that doctor to say to you, I'm going to write you a prescription. Or better yet, here's some eye drops and it's going to go away. Take them for a week and everything will be fine. That's what most of you expected when you went to the eye doctor that day and you said to them, you know, I'm having trouble seeing. Because throughout your history or throughout your vision history, usually if you had a vision impairment or a vision problem, you went to the eye doctor's office and you usually got new eyeglasses, or maybe you had cataract surgery or some type of medication was given and the problem disappeared. But now you're diagnosed with this macular degeneration, which most of you probably couldn't say the first time. And then you're left to try to figure out, what is this disease and what am I going to do with it? Next to going blind, the fear or thought or the idea that I am eventually going to have to stop driving is the second fear with everybody that's diagnosed. You feel like you're going to lose your independence. And now you're what? Dependent on somebody else. And that's the hardest thing to do, is to be dependent upon somebody else, correct? And that's one of the hardest things for you folks to do, anybody to do, is to ask for help. Think of it this way, though. Reverse the situation. And what if somebody else was asking you for help? Normally, you want to help. You want to do as much as you can for somebody. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Because what's the worst thing that can happen?
They can say no.
They can say no. And if they say no, then you know we go on to plan B. You know, one of the reasons I started my company was because of my grandmother. Very similar situations like you folks. But it was the greatest joy that I could do was to help her, because I couldn't make her eyesight any better, but I could certainly take her to the grocery store or to the doctor's appointment. So that was my way of helping, was being able to take her places. One of the other things, though, is you start to find some of the frustrating things for you to do. And one of those is maybe if you're out and about. So for instance, the grocery store. How many of you have been in the grocery store? You can't either read the label on something you're trying to find, and don't you have to ask for help? I get it all the time because I'm tall, and I'll be in there and somebody say, excuse me, ma'am, can you reach that up there? I can't reach it. And gladly so. And so don't be afraid to ask for help in the grocery store. Ask somebody. One of the problems that we deal with when we have macular vision is, you know, somebody walked in this room today, they would not know that most of you can't see who's ever standing up here at the podium, because you all look like you are perfectly fine. Unfortunately, we are stereotyped that if somebody is visually impaired, they either have the dark glasses, the white cane, or maybe their service dog. When you have a vision impairment, like macular degeneration, you look perfectly fine. Nobody knows looking in here that looking at you, you're having a vision impairment. There was another support group that I did some information with, and we kind of just did a little bit of poll. And we said, if we could sit up here and we could write the instructions for the rest of the world, whether it be our caregiver, our family member, or somebody out in the public, that we could write the directions on what they had to do to help somebody that's visually impaired, what would we write? So I made a list of these, and I thought I'd read them to you, and you tell me if you agree. So one of the things that would make it much easier is, when greeting me, please say your name. Let me know when you enter or leave a room. How many of you have tried to talk to somebody and you're not sure who it is because you can't see them? Or you're guessing? Or you're thinking it's Mary Jo and it was actually Sally? So it would help if somebody said, "Hi, I'm Debbie," so that you knew exactly who you were talking to. That would make a difference. The next thing is, by looking directly at me and addressing me by name, I know you are talking to me. Especially if there's a group of people and I walk up to somebody and somebody can't really see, it would be nice if I say, "Hi, Ann, how are you? It's Debbie." That way, Ann knows that I'm talking to her, because she may see me standing there and she may hear me talking, but it might be hard to tell if I'm actually talking directly to her. So by addressing somebody by their name would make it easier. This one was a big one. I think this is a lot of the things that go back to what we talked about as far as independence. Let me do as much as I can, even if it takes me longer or if I do it differently than you would. If I need help, I'll ask for it. When providing directions, try to be as specific as possible. Instead of saying it's over there, try saying the milk is over in the second aisle on the left. Another one was provide adequate lighting for tasks at hand and in the stairways and hallways. Remember that a door to a room, a cabinet, or a car door left partially open is a hazard to me. Or here's the best one, and this happens all the time. You have your things set a certain way, the kitchen counter set a certain way, and some nice family member comes along and decides that they're going to help you clean up. They're going to clean that counter, and they're going to arrange things for you so it's better. And then you come in, and it's totally rearranged, and you can't find a thing. But that happens a lot. People come in and they want to help. You know, we were kind of talking about earlier about asking help. Sometimes on the opposite end, we get too much help. So sometimes you have to tell people, just leave it alone. If I'm walking with you, I will take your arm, or I will ask for help. How many of you have found that since you're visually impaired, and you tell somebody you have a vision impairment, they start talking really loud because they think because you can't see, you also can't hear? Did you ever have that? They just think because you can't see, they start talking louder. But it's just a natural reaction that when we think somebody can't hear or understand something, we start talking louder, like they're going to be able to see better. So before we finish up, I just want to kind of read off, kind of consolidated everything that we just kind of talked about and kind of put into words what you may be going through or what you felt or what the social and emotional part of having macular degeneration is. And so these are some of the suggestions that may help you in dealing with that process. The first one and foremost is acknowledge and accept your feelings about vision loss. Recognize and identify the successful coping skills you have used before in your life and how they can help you cope with this new challenge. Recognize you are the same person you have always been. Learn from and share with others who have experienced visual impairments. And again, I highly recommend the SupportSight groups because I think in an environment like this, this is a perfect chance for you to share with others your experience with visual impairment. Accept the loss as a part of life. Begin to return to your normal responsibilities and activities. Pursue special training to develop new skills and new strengths. And this is a good one. Find someone to talk with. Recognize you may have to educate your family, your friends, and your acquaintances about your vision loss. Don't assume that people know what your vision loss is or what you're going through. And find out about what community resources and services are available to assist you. Just knowing about them should help calm some of your fears and anxieties about what to do next. And the other thing that's also helpful, especially those of you that have access to a computer, is the Macular Vision Research Foundation does have a website. And on their website is a lot of helpful information and stories that may also make this process, this journey in life with a vision impairment, a lot easier. So on behalf of Macular Vision Research Foundation, on behalf of Sleeping Murphy over there in the corner, and myself, I want to thank everybody for attending the meeting and for your cooperation. And I look forward to seeing you guys all again real soon. Thank you.